guys, how's it going? So this is video number 2 of our kind of container series that we're doing today. We decided instead of posting one really long video to kind of break it up into 3. So we will link video number 1 and video number 3 down below if you want to check those out. We're planting up different groupings of containers around our property that we've already filmed in the past, and I really wanted to be able to spend some time on each one of them and talk through what we've done throughout the years with those containers and some of the things we've learned, and then show you the plants because in each grouping of containers we're doing, I am using some new annuals for 2022. So we're tackling the barn containers right now. You can see I've got some spiral boxwoods. They're kind of spirals. They're kind of just mangy monsters right now. We're gonna trim those up, make them look nice and shapely. We're gonna spray them down with some wilt stop to help any kind of burn that may happen, although right now the temperatures are pretty conducive to topiary shaping, so we should be okay. And then we are going to underplant the whole container. So before we get into the actual work, I wanted to really quick show you what plants I'm going to be using and kind of talk through what we've done in these pots in the past. So this is what's going in them this year. And aren't they going to be pretty? It's just such a soft, beautiful blend of color, and now that the barn is white, any color really shows up against it. Now this one right here isn't necessarily new. So it's a Super Tunia Priscilla, which has been around, but this is the improved version that will be out next year. So typically what that means is that they have better vigor, they have better growth habit, they'll bloom more, and I am just so partial to double blooms. Like this is a Super Tunia Bordeaux-esque looking bloom, but with more ruffles, which is great. I love it. Then we've got a Scaevola called, I think that's how you say it, that's how I've always said it, called Whirlwind Pink. I planted some Scaevola in the ground and in the landscape last year, and they did equally as well in both locations. I'd never planted it in the ground before, so I was pleasantly surprised. I'm always happy to find another annual that will do great in the landscape. But I love the soft pink, and I think that intermixed with these purples will be so pretty. And then this is a brand new one for next year called Cake Pops Purple Verbena. Isn't that so pretty? It grows about 10 to 18 inches tall and wide, so it'll be kind of a nice filler plant. Like this one will spill over the sides, this one will be a little bit more upright, and this one will kind of do both. So these are also very heat and humidity tolerant, and they will continue blooming all season long. They also attract all the pollinators. So that will be really fun. Okay, so now I want to talk through the years of these containers being here, because this is the 5th year we're planting them. We put these containers out in 2016. They're from Home Depot. They're like a resin material, very lightweight, 24-inch square kind of diameter. And they were tan when we put them out there. Our barn was blue though. Like the barn has seen quite a transformation as well. So I guess I should probably address that first, because this is like an entirely different building. It looks like it to me anyway. When we moved in, it was kind of a gray-blue color. There were only 2 garage doors right here, but this one was not centered underneath the window. It was over to the side a bit. There were 2 lights here, but nothing here. It was just like a blank wall, and there was a giant light over on that side. So since we've moved in, I mean, we lived with it like that for a long time, and then we had it painted last fall, painted white to match the house, and we had the middle door centered beneath the window. In fact, let me just move over. There we go. Centered beneath the window, and then we had a 3rd door put in to make this whole space balanced out, and that way we can actually have containers flanking. We didn't have a container there before, so we had one over here, and then it was just very random. You can see we still need to re-pour this right here, and then we need to pour this one. That's like the last detail. And then we also had the barn lights installed above the doors. Okay, so 2016, when we first put the pots out, we planted white chiffon Rosa Sharon's standard. So they were little trees in there. It actually looked really good right after we planted them. It didn't look good for that long though, because I put a sweet potato vine below it. The amount of water I had to give the containers to keep that sweet potato vine happy made the Rosa Sharon's unhappy, because as you know, they like things more on the dry side. And like at this point in my life, like I kind of just tried to limp both of them along together. I would have pulled that sweet potato vine so fast now if I would have seen that, because the Rosa Sharon trees, of course, are way more expensive and more important than a sweet potato vine. So I would have done that quickly and kind of revised my annual planting down below to keep those trees happy. We ended up planting those out in the landscape later on in favor of, what did we put in there? I think Desert Plains Pennisetum grasses for fall with some pansies. It was very beautiful. Spring of 2017, we put in some North Pole Arborvitae spirals, which were so pretty. They were very tight spirals, very tidy looking. I planted some yellow pansiolas below them, and it was just a beautiful look. I loved it. And then when the temperatures started getting warmer, I took the pansiolas out and put in a sweet potato vine and then some supertunias. But halfway through that summer, something happened to those arborvitaes. It was kind of like the side that got full sun. So the west side of those arbs totally got brown and dried up and was crispy. And the east side of the spiral still looked great. So it just really wasn't a good look, and I don't know if it was like everything else looked great in the pot. So, and it was just half of the plant that was showing the signs of stress, and I don't know if it was like the glare off the barn or if we had too much wind or what the deal was. But I ended up digging those arbs out of the pots in favor of some purple fountain grasses that were in 5-gallon cans down at the garden center. I saw those and I'm like, well, that's instant impact, and I really want to have the kind of dead looking arbs gone. And then in 2018, we had some Alberta spruces in there with Supertunia Royal Magenta. I'm pretty sure that we didn't film that, and I don't even know if we have pictures of that, but it was very simple and clean looking. In 2019, I used purple fountain grass as a centerpiece, Supertunia Blue Skies, Supertunia White, a lantana that was yellow, and I think it was maybe lemonade or luscious lemonade, does that sound right? And a sweet potato vine, and that was a very pretty look. One thing I didn't do with those, which I kind of wish I did, toward the end when I did the transition for fall containers, the sweet potato vine was so out of control. It was huge, it was all over the ground, it looked like a complete mess. I never trimmed on it one time during the whole season. And that's kind of the thing with sweet potato vine. You either need to be cognizant of how big each variety will grow, because there are some, like the Sweetheart line, that stays a little bit smaller, and so it's easier to maintain that and keep it tidy. But some of them, they'll just kind of trail all over the place, and if you're willing to keep them trimmed, or if you like that look, that's awesome. And in some cases, like in hanging baskets and things, when you want them to be really big and dramatic, that's great. But in cases like this, I kind of like the plants to drape but not be like all over the ground. So I ended up taking out all of the stuff around the grass. I kept the grass in there for fall and put in like some big ornamental cabbage and some pansies. And then last year I found some boxwood spirals at a garden center near our area. Actually, Aaron and I love to go, in fact my mom and I, or Aaron and I, we love to go to nurseries in the surrounding area, but I happened to find 4 of them that pretty much matched. And it had been like, boxwoods for me do the very best. Like, it seems they can take whatever kind of water you need to give your annuals around them. They do well through our winters typically, and I just hadn't been able to find 4 that looked really similar so that I could use them in an application like this. So I snapped them up quick. That's what we planted in here. That's what's still in there. But I'm excited to have kind of this soft color palette. I think it's gonna be beautiful. So here's the deal. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to put a piece of garden quilt around the container. I'm going to use my hedge trimmers, which I also have sitting there. It's the DeWalt hedge trimmers, battery operated, 22-inch blade right there. We're going to use those. I'll use my Felcos if I need to tighten up any smaller areas. Then I'm going to spray the spirals with Wilt Stop, which will help with any kind of moisture loss. And then we will plant the base. I don't think it'll take too long, but I'm just going to get into this, get after it, and then I'll show you what they look like in the end. I got the boxwoods trimmed, got them sprayed with Wilt Stop, and in addition to helping with moisture loss, it also, that Wilt Stop helps shine up the plant. So they have this really nice glossy look to them right now, which is kind of an additional bonus, I guess. And then I spread flower tone over the soil and then planted my flowers. I'm gonna try to come out here later when the lighting's not quite as bright and harsh to get some more pictures or something like that, so you guys can see the plants with a little bit more detail. It's a little bit hard in full sun. You pet the chicken? Really?
Yeah.
Which one? Do you remember her name?
I know.
Bev. Beverly.
Yeah, Beverly.
Yeah.
And I just call her Pets and he just be still.
Really?
Yes.
That's neat.
Come inside.
Sure. We got two little broody girls over here. Beverly's looking for some treats, bud.
Well, he doesn't move. I just got him pet when he's being still.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh. She'll let you know if she doesn't want you to pet her. So there's the spiral. See how glossy? I really love it. Now, I probably could have trimmed on these for a lot longer and gotten out like some little snips or my Felcos and just kind of did some fine work, but you kind of get to a point where you wonder if it's worth it. I have so many boxwoods to shear up, so I feel like this is pretty good and we'll just go with that. I used a total of 4 of each one of the plants, so I just did one on every side. So there's a Priscilla here, on the other side in the back, which the back wouldn't have been 100% necessary, but you do see these pots from 3 separate angles. And then I put a whirlwind pink scaevola in each corner, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I just tucked one of the cake pops in right behind the scaevola because they're not really like, they're great growers, but they're not so much that they're gonna overtake something else, I don't think. So I have the cake pops kind of behind the scaevola on each side, and there was a little bit more space there as opposed to like on the straight runs. So like I said, I'll try to come out here later when it's not so darn bright out, so it's a little bit easier to see. Either way, I'm super happy with this project. Glad to have the boxwoods looking a little less mangy and to have some pretty things beneath because we did clean out the spring pots not long ago and they were okay. They were still looking pretty good. The pansies looked great. The ranunculus were starting to fade a little bit just with the amount of heat and sun and wind that they get in this position. So I was ready to be done with the spring containers really and get something fresh in here. So anyway, that's it for project number 2 today. We're gonna move on to project 3, which actually entails planting 2 separate groups of pots, but I'm only using 3 different kinds of super bells. One of the groups of pots is here at our house and the other group is at Aaron's parents' house. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you in part 3. Bye.